I like the farm. And I like the cherries, oranges and mandarins.
I like growing vegetables, tomatoes, pumpkin.
I can hear drums, guitar, motorbikes. Going to church if it is loud, I can feel the music through the chairs.
So in one ear there's no hearing, in the other I have a little bit. So like when the dog's barking, I can sometimes hear that.
Okay, we're recording. Hello, we're recording now. If you did.
Almost 18 months.
Charles Cameron, okay.
I can't remember exactly when we started to question whether something may be amiss. I can remember clearly the day we found out for sure. We were up at Aquarama and the speakers nearly blew everybody out of the chair and babies were crying and it was ridiculously loud, and we looked down at Charles was asleep. He was out to it. From there on in, it was a lot of testing and so forth. But I think ever since then, it's a progression of understanding and, you know, coming to terms with it. It's been far more challenging in different ways than I ever imagined it could have been.
When you read or you hear people talk about someone having a baby and that, though the baby doesn't have its language until after, say, 8 months old, they're still hearing everything we're saying. So their brain is like a sponge that they're just absorbing all that information. So therefore for Charles, if he's got no hearing and if we're introducing signing when he is getting older, he's lost valuable ground on being able to get language.
He's up to about 5 or 6, I think, when we went over to signing. And that was a huge thing for Charles. He was getting frustrated. Once he had the signing, he was a happier boy. It sort of opened up pretty quick for him then. You can be just a bit short sometimes, and we'd have our moments and ups and downs, and most probably more in some cases because being profoundly deaf, Charles he can read things wrong quite often, and especially if you're tired at the end of a day and haven't got the patience to go and sort out what's really going on. There are times like that I regret. I think there's lots I could have done better with hindsight, but if I was to judge myself, you could be hard. I'm still getting hold of his world.
I had been looking, but I didn't think that I would meet a deaf girl, that I'd find one. So when I met Pastor Albert, I felt that he was a friend that I could ask, and that maybe he'd help me find a wife.
We'd really just about got to the point, I suppose it's 15 years later, I haven't added it up exactly. You know, he's mid-30s, he's not going to get a wife now, he hasn't had a look at a mate anywhere along the line, so we thought, well, he's going to have a single life. That was the big thing with there, Lisa, was that we had that faith, and you know, we're just thinking, oh Lord, you're taking your time, and just when, so often when you think, oh well, that's done, things happen, and you just say, wow.
Chaz and I and Charles flew over to Sydney and we took him to the deaf camp. And then he met different deaf people. He went to New South Wales in the October and attended Deaf Ministries International. He met a deaf pastor there from the Philippines.
So Pastor Albert told me about Charles. who he'd met in South Korea. He told me he was a friend and asked if I'd like to get married. I didn't know. So looking, I saw a little photo of Charles at the DMI camp, and I saw that he was tall, but I didn't know any Auslan, so it was going to be hard to talk. But I said, yeah, I'll meet him.
So myself, Mum and Dad, we flew over to the Philippines and we met Neelisa in person. To communicate, we had to learn different signs from each other.
Her signing is one-handed, so A, B, C, D, E, F, and Charles's is A, B, C, D, E, F, so completely different. On the plane, he's talking to me. Pastor Albert said to ask you about ladies bleeding. And I'm thinking, oh, is Neelisa sick? Why, what's this? We found out that we could either do this as weight or this as weight. So in the Philippines, ladies' menstrual cycle is the same as our Australian weight. But we had good fun with this because they'll say a lot of times that the deaf don't get the Australian humour.
But they get it, once they're into it, they do enjoy it, and they surprise you when they start bringing it back on you too, so yeah. I think generally when you're interacting with somebody and you say, oh, he's deaf, generally people, oh, sorry, and will retreat rather than try and communicate with the deaf. But I can understand that, you know, I think that reaction is, oh, and people will step back and actually retreat from it. Whereas all the deaf are hungry for inclusion. So if you're happy to include them, they'll love it. They'll never reject someone having a go at communicating with them.